Right then, okay, let's start taking some questions. So, why is Cheese Comp trash tier and why is it worrying that the pros are playing it? It's worrying that the pros are playing it because basically if it is the best way to play, then it's going to be everywhere, and it's like, it's easy execution, so it's not very interesting. So that's why cheese comps are kind of worrying. That said, like, I don't mind seeing pros whip out a cheese comp every now and then, like seeing pros bring out a Bastion strat just to keep the enemy team off balance. Like, strategies, so, like, Ryan actually touches very briefly, and he didn't use at OneAmongstMany, by the way, which is annoying. Cheese is a useful tool, okay? Because what cheese does is it keeps other strategies honest, where, at least this is sort of my StarCraft brain talking, okay? So what cheese stops you doing in StarCraft is, let's say you're playing a game of StarCraft 2, and you want to get to the late game as quickly as possible. So your build order is, okay, well, it's going to be Command Center first, Command Center, Barracks. Okay, and I'm just going to pump SCVs and just try and build as many Command Centers as I can, and then I'm going to build a Barracks. And sure, whatever, like, there are CC first builds, but you're always going to be held in check by stuff like spawning pool first Zerg. You know, just like rush out a spawning pool, gets, you know, previously you'd be able to 6 pool, so I'm going to say 6 pool Zerg, you know, and that's just going to instantly crush that strategy. Cheese keeps you honest. Cheese keeps your strategies in check. So if you're running like these heavy tank comps or whatever, if you're running something that can just be exploited by just running a Bastion and killing it, then it's not a good strategy. Or if you're running strategies that will just be beaten by them playing a Symmetra, you know, and just playing conservatively with a Symmetra, it keeps your strategies honest. It keeps the core of them honest. Now, the issue with cheese is that it's usually rare. Like, cheese is the way that cheese is defined, or at least the way I define cheese, is this idea that cheese is cheese because it works because you don't know it's coming. Okay, cheese is a strategy that operates off the principle that if you don't know this is coming, you're going to have a really hard time. When you do know what it is, then you can beat it. So if you had a full map vision in StarCraft 2 and you could see that, oh, well, they've gone spawning pool first, so I'm just going to build off my wall off, build a couple of Marines, rush a bunker, and I'm fine, or whatever. Like, you'll very easily be able to sort of develop a counter strategy to it if you could see it coming. Same with the Bastion strategy, and this is why I consider a Bastion strategy or Torp Symmetra to be cheese, because it relies on you not knowing that the Bastion is the thing that's going to be rolling out, right? This is why if you're running a Bastion, for the love of God, do not sit and spawn firing away with your gun, because it just makes the enemy team go, oh, I hear a Bastion. Okay, they're running a Bastion. We need to adapt to that. So yeah, it's worrying because pros should be playing high execution stuff and should be able to beat cheese relatively consistently, and so if cheese becomes the norm and becomes like the main staple tactic, then it's a bit of an issue. But I am a-okay with pros run, like, I used to love it when Cloud9 back in the day used to run Bastion every so often on Control, because they would just run out with a Bastion and suddenly, like, the enemy team would dive them, but they had a Bastion, so they just go brrr and just kill everything, and it's like, holy shit. Okay, we now have to consider this extra factor that they can just roll out a Bastion, so we can't just dive super greedily, or we have to have adaptations and little tweaks to our strategy. It's very, very cool. So yeah, if it's the only way to play, then it's a bad sign for the game. Just very quickly, does the comp mine take damage while in the air? No. Same with Venom Mine, by the way, you can't shoot it down. Is Roadhog a good counter to a Bastion? Yes. Yes, at medium range, basically. At long range, it's a problem. The advantage Roadhog has is it's very difficult for, like... Let's think about these duels sort of realistically. So let's say that, you know, they have Bastion. Let's actually draw this semi-properly. So they have Bastion. Okay, and Bastion is on the payload. Little octagonal head. And so Bastion is sat on the payload. And this is the payload. He's got a Reinhardt in front of him, protecting him, and Bastion's shooting away. Okay? And if you've got a Roadhog, you're going to just be firing into this barrier constantly. You just step out a corner, fire, step back in. Step out, fire, step back in. Step out, fire, step back in. They can't really do anything about that, and if you get an opportunity, you can maybe go on a flank and just get a hook. Hook pulls him out of tank form, or out of turret form, makes it very easy just to land a couple of shots on him. If he's just staying in position, you can very easily land right clicks on him. You put a lot of pressure on the barriers. It's just a very good way to sort of disrupt the comp. So Roadhog works quite nicely against it. D.Va less so these days, although D.Va can just like pounce on the Bastion. So like running, it sounds weird, but running triple tank into a Bastion isn't necessarily bad, but it's just you have to get the execution right. But I would rather have like a Roadhog and a Reinhardt, and you just play very carefully with the Reinhardt. The reason why you want a Reinhardt is Fire Strike penetrates, so you get some free damage on the Bastion pretty much every single time it's up, and then it just gives your team enough time to sort of, you know, once their barrier starts dropping low, you can then step out, put your barrier up, and then you can just take the fight and kill their Bastion and Reinhardt before they kill you. Ideally, it's difficult. You got to play intelligently. You can't just stand up and expect the barrier to stay up. You got to understand the mechanics of, like, Bastion will out DPS your team. Bastion will do tons and tons and tons and tons of damage, but you have the advantage of knowing exactly where it is, its exact limitations, abuse corners, abuse line of sight, abuse everything you can, and then just work around him and try and beat him that way. Bastion's also very vulnerable to ultimate storms, so if you just send out 3 ultimates at him, he's gonna be destroyed because he can't avoid them. So you can just get a lot done with ultimates. Once he's off the point, again, like I said, key strategy, just don't let him get set up again. Which is usually why you see, like, once the Bastion is dislodged, people will swap off him, because it's just not worth keeping it on him. When you're playing Sombra or Reaper, what is a good way to make sure you go in as your team does? I found that a couple of seconds off, it sucks badly. Yes, it does. It's a matter of instinct, and if you do find yourself often engaging like in front of the team, especially as Reaper, pay attention to 2 things. A, where your tanks are, and B, where your Lucio is, if you have a Lucio, what your Lucio is doing. Speed boost is sort of your signal to go in, so just like don't run off without it. With Reaper, you have a little more leeway. Like, both Reaper and Sombra can get away with initiating first, but it's usually better to just like let your tanks lead. Especially as Reaper. So in general, what I would say is just like fall in behind your Reinhardt or behind your Winston and see what they are doing. Let them initiate first because it's their job, and avoid just running it on your own. It sounds very simple when you say it like that, but it's like when you see me play with Ryan, for example, on the Talon account, I'll often run up behind Ryan and I'll say to him, I'm with you. And why I'm saying that to Ryan is it's like his signal to let him know that he has this powerful DPS behind him now. That means that he can move forward. And like, if he wants to push in, I will be there following him and just stood behind him, shooting. So yeah, that's why. With Sombra, you shouldn't be initiating with the team, is the weird answer. So with Sombra, you should be like the team, like your team, enemy team. Okay? Your team should be initiating like this. Sombra should already be in position by the time they initiate. Like, you have options, and if you're EMPing, then you just gotta wait for your team to start moving forward. My advice as well is just spam the Z button a couple of times when EMP is ready. So like, press it twice so you get 2 messages coming up going, my EMP is ready. Throw the translocator in, let it very visibly like get thrown into their team, translocate EMP. You basically want to give your team time to see the signals that you are going in and going to do something. If you're not going to use voice, just make sure that they have very clear signals and body language that you are going to do something with it. Like spamming the ultimate button a couple of times before you use it is generally like a good way of doing that. A Sombra, you can also just like flank in and just try and get in position, but Sombra should not be just running straight in. If you played Team Fortress 2 and you played Spy and like you have 2 teams fighting each other and you just try and run at the enemy team, the amount of times you just get nicked by a stray bit of damage or stray bullet, and then it's like, oh shit. I'm sort of stood out in the middle of the open, I've got nothing I can do, I'm gonna die. Feels bad, man. So avoid doing that. I keep hearing good things about the HyperX. Okay, Ryan is sponsored by HyperX, just an FYI. But he has spoken positively about them in his private conversations with me. Waste tanks are good against cheese. Depends on the form of cheese. If it's Symmetra, Torb, Winston, just to like Symmetra anything, just Winston clears the turrets so effectively. Just remember, it's part of your job as Winston to just turn around and sweep up the turrets. It's absolutely worth doing. It's not so much like which tanks are good. I'd definitely say Roadhog is also very strong against it. Orisa is terrible against Bastion cheese, because the barriers just get shattered and then you will die. Zarya is not great. Diva is not great. You generally just want something that can deal high impact damage very quickly. The reason why you would run Zarya is you're just going to try and build up as much damage as possible and then spam right clicks around the corner, and then try and win off the back of a grab. But even that, it's going to be difficult. It's more of a playstyle shift. It's realizing that as a tank, if you're playing against a Bastion, you are no longer really a tank. Like, you will die just as fast, if not faster than everyone else by virtue of being a big target, so he's landing more shots on you. So you cannot afford to fight him directly. So you're not really tanking anymore. You're finding angles and corners to exploit and finding ways to sort of get around him. And it's just forcing a big change in play style that you should be then adopting. And you should realize, hang on, I can't just run at this guy. Like if I stand in front of the Bastion and they have a Mercy as well, with my barrier up, my barrier is gone in a couple of seconds. So I cannot do that. So I'm just going to Fire Strike. And then when their barriers get low, when their Bastion's low or is feeling uncomfortable, then I'm going to put my barrier up and then I'm going to start moving forward and then I'm going to start putting pressure on. And it's like picking your times very carefully. In the case of El Presidente, Bastion, Orisa, Reinhardt, is Junkrat any good or is Reaper better? I'd definitely say Junkrat's pretty good. I saw you mention, Rip, during the coaching session, like that the Bastion wasn't positioned, the Junkrat wasn't exploiting the arc enough, and I kind of agree with that. And so one of the nice things about El Presidente is, again, it's predictable. You know exactly where it is. You have a freaking piece of your UI telling you exactly where the payload is. You know where they are. So you can very easily just, like, as Junkrat, just sit behind cover and just lob grenades onto the point. And just destroy the barriers, especially the Reinhardt barrier, because once that's gone, it's very difficult to get back. And then you just keep on mobbing them with damage. And if you just keep putting the damage on, they have to eventually move. And there also, another reason why Junkrat is good is if you wait for the payload to approach a corner, or like a drop, and you just get a Rip Tire in there. You'll just clear it out. Reaper will have issues, because as Reaper, you've got to get into them. And as we saw during the last moments of that coaching video, running at a Bastion is a very good way to die. So you kind of have to Wraith form into it, and then if you Wraith form into it, well, the Reinhardt's going to turn and face you, the Orisa's going to stop you, they're going to body block for the Bastion. It doesn't work quite as well, so I definitely think the Junkrat is a better choice. Sombra is a-okay as well to beat El Presidente. As long as your team are picking up health packs, and you should like push your team, hey, pick up health packs so we can get an EMP, and then we can just kill them. Works very nicely. How to deal with a combo of Bastion, Torp, Sim, Orisa, Rein, Mercy. My gut instinct does say Sombra. Otherwise, it's just like build up 6 ultimates and kill them as hard as you can. Like Diva Bomb is going to be very good against that. Whole Hog is actually going to be very good against that. Like build up a couple of ultimates that can just sweep them away and play off that, and then don't let them get set up again. Like you can even run stuff like a Dragon Blade into that, like a Nano Blade would just destroy it, as long as the Reinhardt doesn't Earth Shatter you. You could really just tear that to pieces with something like that. Pulse Bomb, also very good. It's just like, it's understanding that you aren't going to break that in a conventional fight. Like you aren't going to just stand toe-to-toe with that and win, because they're just going to destroy you every time. Like running directly at that is not going to work. So you have to be cleverer, and you just have to go, well, they can't move. So we just need to use a ton of shit that exploits the fact that they can't move, and we'll win. So if you send in a Diva Bomb and a Dragon Blade and and an EMP, you'll win. Or you send in a Whole Hog and a Diva Bomb, you'll probably win. Or a Pulse Bomb and a Whole Hog, you'll probably win. Like, there's a whole pile of different ultimates that you can use. It's just a matter of, like, getting those ultimates, making sure that you don't constantly feed and just trickle in against that kind of stuff, and then you play off the back of that. What's the best way to deal with Bastion and Orisa at lower elos where team coordination might not be the best? Tracer, Pulse Bomb. Like, you won't kill the Bastion outright, but you'll get him low enough where you can just gun him down, usually. It also just makes the Orisa and Bastion very uncomfortable. It forces a lot of attention away. Just understand that when you go in, like, you are going to draw a lot of heat. They are going to really focus down on you. So you got to hope that your team's also putting out pressure and stuff like that. With Junkrat, for example, spamming away, trying to get a Riptire angle on it. All that kind of stuff is also happening at the same time. But I'd definitely say, like, Tracer is a very good way of doing it. Farah, oddly enough, is actually pretty good at doing it like a pharmacy, just fighting from very super long distance and just raining rockets in. As long as they can find an angle that gets even remotely past the barrier, you can probably smash through it eventually. Like, just playing it patiently. Do not play with, like, do not think that a Widowmaker will do it, a Hanzo would ever be able to do it unless he can get a really good scatter arrow, like, onto the Bastion, just like in the original. Let me find this Overwatch original gameplay trailer. There we go. You know, do not think that this is a realistic portrayal of how Hanzo works. I've seen this trailer so many goddamn times. You have no idea. Hanzo should be coming up relatively soon. I think it's Farah next. There's Symmetra, kills the Reaper. Teleporter goes down. Farah comes up. Farah's going to get gunned down by the Bastion, I think. Oh, the old voice line as well. And there's Bastion with his little shield. Right, Bastion used to have a built-in personal shield. He's gonna kill the Farah! Oh no, Farah goes down! But no, here's the clever. Oh, the dragon hungers. And I'm Hanzo, and I'm clever, and I'm sneaky. I'm gonna go up and oh, get wrecked, scrub. Right, that shit doesn't actually happen, ever. So yeah. So don't try and do it with like these very slow pick heroes because you don't actually ever get through the barrier and nothing ever happens. So yeah, you want something that will just hit hard and fast. I've heard recently that Sim can be a good counter to these cheese comps since her right mouse button does 125 damage at full charge. And Cleaves, what are your thoughts on this? It's a good theory. It will work if you have a Reinhardt with you. But the issue is this, okay? They have an Orisa barrier. Bastion sat in it. Reinhardt's also in front of it. And they're shooting away. And you're shooting orbs through. What will end up happening is the healers will just heal up the Bastion. Bastion will heal himself up. Reinhardt will move slightly to one side and maybe move back. Healers will heal him up. And you will never actually out DPS all the healing they have. So you can put a lot of pressure on them with the Symmetra, but you will never actually just break them. What I will say that works better if you are looking to do something like this is Mei. If you find and just try and focus on building up your ultimate. Shoot whatever you can, build up an ultimate as fast as you can, and just throw a Blizzard in and put a wall down in a good place. You will get all of them because Blizzard penetrates barriers. So you just freeze all of them and they can't do anything. If the enemy team is running a Bastion comp on a payload towards the end of the game, like in overtime, running a Mei and just building up a Blizzard is one of the best ways to beat it. How do you judge when it is more important to hack the enemy during a team fight rather than just do damage? Depends on the hero. If it's a Mercy hacker, like different heroes have different values associated with them based on whether or not you're going to hack them or not. So we look at the list and we try, like, I'm going to try and assign a score out of 5, with 5 being most hackable, and 1 being least hackable. I'd say Anna rates at about a, okay, let's get a bit of color. The Anna rates at about a 3. Okay, let's just not use the highlighter mode. Anna will rate about a 3. Bastion at probably like a 5. Diva at more like a... yeah, give Diva a 3. Doomfist at about a 4. Genji at a 4. Hanzo at a 1. Junkrat at a 1. Lucio at a 2. McCree at a 2. Mei at a 4. Mercy at a 5. Orisa at a 2. Farah at a 2. Reaper at a 3. Reinhardt at a 4. Roadhog at a 4, Soldier on a 1, Sombra on a 5, Symmetra on a 1, Torbjorn on a 1, Tracer on a 4, Widowmaker on a 2, Winston on a 2. Actually, Winston should be higher than that. Winston on a 3, Zarya on a 3, Zenyatta on a 2. Oh, right, very quickly done without much reasoning given. Anna, if you hack her or not, like, hacking Anna will help a dive kill her, but it doesn't have a huge impact on her. Bastion needs hacking because he's going to do way less damage and be very much easier to kill. Diva, you should hack in terms of, like, if she has defense matrix and hasn't used it, hacking her is really helpful. But you shouldn't really be going super out of your way to do it. Doomfist, like, if you can get a hack on him, get a hack on him. Same with Genji, just shuts them both down in a really big way. Makes their lives way harder. Genjis have a habit as well of thinking when they're hacked that they aren't, and so they'll fuck up and they'll play the same way, and so they'll just end up dying. Hacking Hanzo doesn't really make much of a difference. Hacking Junkrat, honestly, doesn't make that much of a difference in terms of what they're actually doing. Hacking the Lucio, it's nice, it stops them crossfading and it stops them amping it up, but it doesn't have a huge impact. Hacking McCree, like, he can get rid of his flashbang, but he's still dangerous, doesn't really care that much. Hacking a Mei is very important because, again, Meis like to take risks and gamble, even when they're hacked, because they think they have ice block and wall. They don't, they just die. Mercy, super high priority hack. If you can hack a Mercy, hack the Mercy, because it stops res, which is super, super high value. Hacking Orisa, not really going to impact what she's doing. Hacking a Farah, she's still got, like, if she really wants to get away, she can still hold spacebar and, like, very slowly rocket up. It's not really going to impact the Farah that much. Hacking Reaper will stop Wraith Form, just guarantee kills. It's very useful. Hacking Reinhardt, super useful because it gets rid of the barrier. Hacking Roadhog, super useful because it gets rid of his paint can, which means that he won't be able to heal himself, which means, like, pretty much like Mei, Genji, Doomfist, like, they think that they have safeties when they don't, and so they'll make mistakes. Soldier, not going to influence him much. Sombra, if you hack Sombra, she can't EMP, she can't translocate, she can't hack back. Yeah, she might be able to hack back. I don't think she can. but she's just fucked. Like, Sombra relies on translocation. So yeah, again, Symmetra not going to impact her much. Torbjorn not going to impact him much. Tracer, very difficult to hack, but if you get it on her, she's completely screwed. Widow, not really going to impact her that much. It stops a grapple, but grapple isn't the biggest deal. Winston, it stops him jumping, so again, it's similar to Genji, Reaper, Mei. Like, it stops that safety. Same with Zarya. Zenyatta, it stops him swapping orbs around. It's not great. EMP is more important. So it's just a matter of like weighing up, can I kill this person? If not, can I hack them and disrupt them and let my team do more? You got to take a read on the situation. My advice is when you decloak, try for a hack and then try and do damage. Unless the enemy team is already shooting at you, you can usually get the hack off and then you can do some damage. That's sort of how it's balanced. If you try and shoot and then hack, it's not really going to work. You need to basically get the hack while you have the element of surprise. So Bastion is strong against tanks. Will solo tank be okay? What tanks work against Bastion? Sort of like I explained earlier, it's more of a playstyle shift. Solo tank can kind of be okay, but the thing with the Bastion is like you need to have something in front of you absorbing a little bit of that damage so that you have time to deal damage to him. If you run with no tanks, then you just end up dying very quickly to the Bastion. That's a problem. So you want to be very careful with that. It just depends on like if you want to try and outlast and then smash the Bastion. So if you're playing like a Reinhardt, Roadhog, Junkrat and just try and like pile damage on as best you can, sure. If you're playing more of a dive, then you want to have the window that a D.Va or a Zarya can give you and then just have that very brief moment of a window of opportunity. The issue with running the Zarya is that 200 hit point barriers go down instantly. So you're not going to actually break them like that. I've had a bunch of times lately where Junkrat just sends Junkrat sends someone flying just before I'm ready for a crispy headshot. Any advice for Junkrat's or Junkrat's teammates to avoid the anti-synergy? Again, really what he's doing. That and Junkrat should be avoiding using concussive mine unless it's guaranteeing the kill confirm. It's similar to Lucio's using right click, right? Like if you're playing Lucio and you right click someone before they're going to die, your teammates are going to usually be very unhappy with you. So you want to use it mostly just to confirm damage. You'll do a little bit of bonus damage here and there. If they're like deflecting or something like that, then you can use it. Or booping them out of barriers and stuff. Other than that, it's like, yeah, just avoid using it without being able to confirm the kill, basically. Otherwise, just like try and read what your Junkrat's doing. If he's already laid a trap and he's already got the mine down, then you know where it is and you can kind of anticipate it, but other than that, like, there's not too much you can do. With myself coming from StarCraft, what qualifies as cheese in Overwatch? Is it basically just Bastion camp? Is it anything that takes advantage of surprise? Is it anything that's easy to execute? Yeah, so it's basically what I sort of termed earlier. To me, the definition of cheese is cheese operates because you don't know it's there. If you left spawn and you knew they had Torbjorn Symmetra and tailored your team comp accordingly, you could probably smash it to pieces very quickly. Like, if you get Horizon, you know you're going into it. Like, these days, if I'm playing on Horizon and my enemy's running Orisa, Torbjorn, and all standing on the point, then we're just going to go up to one of the blind corners, group up there, and then push in all at once and smash them. Like, it's easy enough to break when you know it's happening. I love playing Sombra, and I found she's pretty useful in multiple situations, but whenever I even toy the idea of playing her in comp, people complain and throw fits saying that I'm going to be useless or accusing me of throwing, regardless of the situation. What's a good way to convince people to give me the chance to prove that I can run her? It's getting frustrating, and I'm being made that I feel like I can't play my favourite hero anymore. Like, this is going to sound weird, but take it in steps. Play her on maps where she's very strong and known to be strong. Temple of Anubis on defense, Volskaya defense, and also maps where she's relatively easy to run. So Temple of Anubis and Volskaya on defense, two instant sort of, okay, you can definitely run Sombra here. Route 66, first point on defense, you can also run her. Just don't expect people to run the cave strategy properly. So prioritize just very quickly schematic of Route 66. You've got the penis here, you've got Big Isles over here, you've got the cave right over here, right? It's like a ramp here as well that goes over the cave. Got the corner, payload route goes like this. You've got a health pack here, here, and here. Take these 3 health packs and prioritize these 2, because these 2 are the most hotly contested. This one is more to deny the enemy team. If people played the cave strategy properly, then they'll be playing on this one more. But yeah, these 2 are the big ones. Try and develop like a good win rate on her, and then when people go, well, I don't think you can run it, you go, well, I've got a 70% win rate. So yeah, and if you're struggling to win on stuff like Temple of Anubis with Sombra, that's a problem. But then it's just a matter of practicing it more on those maps, getting it working. In general, like you just say, just use a health packs, get it work. Like these guys, just use the health packs, have a little bit of faith. If it doesn't work, I'll swap off it. But I'm gonna run this. Let's see how it goes, and that's fair enough. Like that is fair enough. I've got to ask like what rank you're playing at as well. In general, I would say Sombra will start working better when you start hitting more Plat, Diamond. When you start getting into Masters, it's perfectly normal. Grandmasters, it's absolutely normal to see Sombras, so yeah. It's kind of a silly question, but I have a question about Sim and cheese comps. I never had a problem to kill her with Tracer before the cheese comp, but now that her Junkrats and McCree's around her to protect her, I kind of struggle to kill her before she charges herself up by a tank because of that. What is the best way of dealing with her right now? If you're playing as Tracer against a Sombra, against a Symmetra cheese, my advice in general is like build up your pulse bomb just as quickly as she builds up a teleporter, and then just go and pulse bomb the telly. And every time she puts it down, just pulse bomb it. It just nullifies any advantages that Symmetra brings, and that should be your goal. Anytime you hear, you know, oh, they have a shield generator or they have a teleporter, just go and smash it. Go and break Symmetra's things, and go with that. Like, directly engaging Symmetras as Tracer is always going to be difficult, because Tracer relies on evasion, so you've got to try and keep that tricky little mid-range and make sure that you're not getting hit by turrets or anything so she can catch up on you, and then you've got to try and kill her. So engaging her directly is not really going to work to your favor as people do start protecting her and playing around the Symmetra a bit better. So just try and develop into like countering the value that she brings. Break her turrets, because you can just blink through, turn around, kill a bunch of turrets, and then escape if necessary, and then just break her shield gens and stuff. Just eliminate the value that Symmetra brings, instead of engaging her directly. How do you dismantle Simtorb defense when 200 hit point heroes suddenly had 350? Ultimates, like what I mentioned earlier, smash them to pieces with as many ultimates as you can, and then just don't let them get that built up again. What are good and bad maps for Reaper on attack or defense? Reaper in general, like any map without a huge amount of vertical movement is going to be good for Reaper. So like I would start with bad maps, and what I would say is like bad maps for Reaper include Numbani first point. Like Numbani first point is really awkward for Reaper, because it's so easy for the enemy team to just like reposition around on the high ground and low ground. Reaper can't really do that. If you're playing Reaper on first point Numbani, my advice is just get onto the point and stand in the safest point, like safest part of the control point. So again, quick schematic of Numbani. You got like the catwalk here. You got the point here. Payload sort of sat on it. And then you got like the sort of the balcony area here. Right? And as Reaper, what I recommend is, as long as if your team push up here, then as Reaper you want to sort of get to here. It sounds weird, like you brute force your way up, their team jumps down, or like retreats all the way around, or like gets up onto the high ground up here. You want to get over here, so that they have to like peek right over and you're just right under them going hi, bang, 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 bang. Like, it forces them to fight in your close range, and then they have to like jump down to contest you, and that puts them at your comfortable fighting distance. So Numbani first point is very bad for Reaper. Other maps that are really bad for Reaper, like Hollywood third, because it's just like a big long tunnel. And it's a bit different than King's Row second, King's Row third, because King's Row third you have a lot of places you can shadow step to and then just drop down very effectively. You don't really have that super well in Hollywood, especially when like if you're attacking into that. On defense, like Reaper is just, it's not like you have bad maps, it's just you have bad situations in that. Like Eichenwald second is probably bad for Reaper as well, I would say, but Eichenwald first is very good for Reaper, because you're basically running around a corner straight into the enemy team. That's what Reaper wants, that's why Reaper is good. So you want to find these places where you can get into those locations where literally you just turn a corner and the enemy team's right there, and you just go bang, 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 and you just kill everything, and it feels amazing. Corners are good as Reaper, okay? Corners are really good. If you are running a long distance and the enemy team can see you coming, it's like the scene in Monty Python, you know, where it's like the guy's just like running at a field. I'm Googling furiously for the scene, where you know, he's preparing to attack and he's like running in a field. Endless running. Right, it's this. I'm sure I'm going to get copyright struck or something for this, but whatever. Right, where he's getting ready, like the guards are waiting, they're watching, and he's there. Like, this is Reaper at long distance. And it's just like... What's he doing? Huh? Huh? Hmm? What? Huh? And then you turn the corner and then this happens, right? So yeah, it's that. And that's what you want as Reaper, right? A couple more questions. Please send the PSA that Orisa Holt is one of the few CCs that can push Bastion from the top of the payload. Yes, Orisa can pull Bastions around. It's quite funny. Windfire is running into Widow plus Bastion, who just cover each other. Is it worth trying to take them out, or should I just change when they cover each other? You should just change. If they're covering each other super hard, then not worth it. Play something better. Like, play something very aggro dive, or play fire in a more aggro dive style. I wouldn't mention I wouldn't mention them on this stream if I didn't think highly of them. Oh yeah, HyperX. Going up against Lewis on Bastion was the worst when I'm playing against a pro Reinhardt. Yeah, that was actually quite funny at the event in London. Poor Ryan. Ryan was so happy. I told Chris this afterwards as well. It's like, Ryan got an Earth Shadow past you, and that's probably made his entire week. So yeah, so congratulations with that. But Lewis, who basically has played Overwatch like twice in his life, just played Bastion and just got on the point and killed people. It's quite funny. Possible kills Bastion on a stick. I believe it leaves him with 5 hit points. Actually, no, because the stick does damage. It might actually do it. But I wouldn't count on it anyway, just kill them. In terms of ranking up solo and silver gold on console, I get a lot of teams that trickle in and are not coordinated at all. Any heroes that play or not play some solo? I main Genji, Winston, and Zenyatta. Very hard to sort of say on console in particular, because of how, like, different heroes are strong on console than they are on PC. I'd say like Zenyatta is a difficult one to do solo, because Zenyatta relies on his team playing super well. It's definitely doable. My advice in general in silver and gold is just try and focus on your mechanics as best as possible. Like, get your aim as high as it can be. Let me put it this way. If you took a Masters level player and put them into silver and gold, they could be playing anything, and they'll probably still be able to climb out of it pretty convincingly. So to me, the key there is just getting your mechanics as solid as you can, making sure that, like, when you're playing Genji, are your shurikens landing on top of your dashes? Are your dashes being used to finish targets off cleanly? Are your Dragon Blades getting 2, 3, 4 kills? Like, try and get this stuff down as smoothly as you can. Are you dying a lot on your own as Genji? Are you going in a little bit too aggressively? Stuff like that as well. Like, just making sure that you're not dying for silly reasons, that your positioning is good. That kind of stuff is also going to help. But it's mostly just like, make sure your aim is as good as it can be, and your knowledge of how to engage, when to engage, and why you're engaging is always going to be sort of the crux there. One more question, let's see. The Sombra is a better choice when your team is organized and upper tier play is generally more organized. Yes. Okay, yeah, basically. Also, I'd say, like, upper tier players are just better at reading what you're doing, so it's much easier for me to read what a Sombra player is doing compared to another player. Regarding using Translocator plus EMP, if you're invincible, melee before you trans in, so you have a less delay between trans and EMP. Okay. I didn't know that was a cancel. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but it might at some point. Like, I get, like, stuff like this, I'm always, like... There's also a lot of myths, like, people think that melee cancelling on Reaper's reload still works. It doesn't. It makes absolutely no difference. So, yeah. I've seen that many pro teams were not using Lucio during the Premier Series. This is a sign for things to come. And what's the big advantage of not using Lucio? It could be a sign of things to come. Like, at the moment, pros are still also figuring out what works and what doesn't with the new Mercy, and they know that Mercy's going away, so we might see a return to Mercy coming back, but team comps are generally a bit stodgier these days as well, so it's like less dive oriented, so the speed boost matters a bit less. It's an interesting one. Like, you can run without a Lucio, but I would say on control, you still want a Lucio. Just getting to the point, like if you have a Lucio and they don't, and you get to the point first and set up properly, you should win that. So it's why, like, even though, like, I was playing games last night and you saw me play Lucio, every single time we were starting an attack on the point, I would always run on the Lucio. But then afterwards, that's when I changed to Zen. Like after first push, if I thought the Zen was going to work better, I'd swap to Zenyatta. But you want that first speed boost. It's just super useful. But yeah, that'll do it for now. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. Remember, if you do want to send in footage, you absolutely can. Which is like this. So you send it in to oemreviews@gmail.com, include the hero name and the rank in the title, plus a description and a YouTube link or a Twitch link if you've done it on Twitch. Although if you've done it on Twitch, try and make sure that there's no music and that your face cam isn't too huge or whatever. If you're a Twitch sub, you have slightly higher prio. This, I believe today, wasn't a Twitch sub, but it was an interesting premise and I wanted to sort of touch on it and go from there. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching all the way to the end of the Q&A. Thank you for sticking with it, and I'll see you guys next time. Right, YouTube's gone. YouTube's gone. We're going to play. My throat is